I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat.
I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
And welcome back, Internet, to another episode of Views from the 616, the blackest MCU podcast in all of the multiverse. It is I, one of your hosts, Tatiana King, a.k.a. the coldest Winter Soldier ever, a.k.a. Captain America. And I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy, DJ Benhameen, a.k.a. Cosmic Cuba Gooding Jr.
Okay.
A.k.a. John, walk it out.
Yes.
Yippee-ki-
Walk it out.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey. Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon. A pimp named Sam Wilson.
Yes.
Off-White Panther.
Oh, yes, that one.
The Power Token.
Wow. Did you just come up with that one today?
That's a new one. You know what I mean? We legalized it in NY. So
This is true.
Yo, son, they said you can burn it on the street.
On the stoop, bro. In front of everybody.
Stoop's about to be lit this summer.
I mean, not that that ever stopped anybody, but
Facts.
hey, now it's legal. But yes, everybody, welcome back to Views from the 616, where we're here to discuss everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. And thank you for joining us again. We appreciate everybody who was here last week and the people who have been consistently with us through For All Nerds, with us through Views from the 616. Also, if you haven't seen or heard, we have our drum roll, please. Our new logo.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, just check out our Views from the 616 Twitter page. It is actually up as our profile pic. That logo is fire. Benhameen, who made that logo for us?
Oh, the one and only, the legendary Dr. Infinite Mind Warp, formerly known as Theodis Jones. For those that know and for those that don't know, this person is behind the legendary Combat Jet show bills every week.
Wow.
I mean, just Google this. Google Combat Jet show bill. That's all I'm going to tell y'all. And
wow. So we got sprinkles of legendary in there.
I mean, pure legendary. Came through with the Views from the 616 featuring the Black Watcher, the Blatcher, I guess. I'm not sure.
He's clearly black.
Clearly black.
I love it.
If you didn't get what our logo is about, that is the Black Watcher watching over the MCU as we do here on Views from the 616. And just to let y'all know, this logo will now be available by the time you hear or see this on tpublic.com/stores/forallnerds. Luna, put those words on the screen right there so people can see it. Because they need to know, maybe flash the logo for them right now so they can see it.
I feel like I'm on Home Shopping Network now. But
yeah, hey, real quick, so they can understand what is going down here. You can get the Views from the 616 logo on your t-shirts, on your pillows, on your stickers.
Yeah, I can't wait to get mine.
On your mugs.
Yo, that exclusive Naui design. You can't even get that design
Can't even get this anymore. You should have copped it while it was available, folks. You know what I mean?
And that's why we always say, if you see something dope on our TeePublic page, just pick it up, because there's no telling what DMZA or whatever takedown's going to happen, and then we're ass out. So just get it if you like it.
Yes.
That being said, thank you again for everyone who's been supporting us. Hope you enjoy and like the logo. We love it. Hope to see that on many t-shirts very soon. In the meantime, we are here to talk everything the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, specifically episode 3, Power Broker. Ready, Benhameen?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the basic plot. If young Zemo don't trust you, we gon' shoot you. Because things are heating up on the 3rd episode of The Falcon and the White Wolf, with Sam and Bucky taking drastic measures to make it happen, Captain. So, do the ends justify the means? I guess. But it seems like the Flag Smashers are not the only ones who will find out, as our dynamic duo is joined by the one and only Baron Von Zemo, aka Baron on the Beat. Plus, we travel to one of the homes of a certain hairy mutant, and we are left with just one question. What's going on with Sharon?
A lot.
How many problems you got? A lot.
A lot.
And we're going to go into all of the things happening with Sharon. We have some theories and some questions about her that we're going to get deep into. But let's start, as usual, with themes of the episode. And your first major theme of this episode 3 is actually a quote from Sam. Sam says this to Bucky while they're arguing in that shipping container fight scene. He says, quote, "It's in every action movie." And I thought that was pretty hilarious when he said it, because I noticed that theme running throughout the entire episode. Yes, it runs throughout the series itself. The series is very like action / drama / a little bit of comedy thrown in it, but it's super action oriented. But this particular episode was just had a what is that called? A je ne sais quoi? When it comes to Benhameen, you noticed it as more 80s type of action. It's a significant amount of like cheese factor, but it wasn't overdone.
Was it?
Well, I enjoy it because you know what? I think what I notice a lot about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is there's lots of tongue-in-cheek references, right? Like it's smart done. It's not just done. It's not, as you mentioned about like Easter eggs and things like that. They don't just throw too many things in there just for fuck's sake. Like there's meaning and intention in it, right?
Yes.
So I think it was just the right amount to be, and that's how I feel.
Okay.
So between the two of us, we were thinking of different movies or shows that these scenes elicited, right? How they're similar. So Benhameen mentioned Lethal Weapon 2. I mentioned things like Mission Impossible, Bourne Identity, even other Marvel films, obviously, and we're going to get into that. And you mentioned Eraser, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, you know about Eraser?
And Vanessa Williams?
Yes, and the rail guns. They have rail guns in Eraser. Yo, they straight up shooting off rail guns at one point.
Wait, are you dead ass?
Yeah, yo, that's like one of the first. Cause I knew about rail guns from like science fiction stories from before that. But that was like one of the first.
Rail guns. I thought you said real guns.
Rail.
Yeah, rail guns are.
Oh, you thought I said like they was really capping?
Yeah, that's what I was like. They was busting out there for real, guys. Like the 80s, or whenever that came out, the 80s, 90s was wild. Damn.
Arnold was like, "Fuck it, y'all."
I thought she was like live ammo. The fuck?
No, they have rail guns in that. And that was like one of the first times that I'd seen rail guns used in popular culture, at least.
Okay.
But that's because at one point they have a shootout in a shipyard, which also takes place in Lethal Weapon 2. Yeah. And I'm sure hella others, because there's always a shipyard getting shot at.
A TV show movie that has any type of scene that takes place in New York or any seafaring or seaside city, you're going to have a shipping container scene. Even in The Wire, there's a shipping container fight.
There's a whole season of shipping containers on The Wire.
So, and we have a short list here of just different things. Just so you know that we're not tripping. That jail fight scene, that escape scene, that's a big trope in a lot of different action movies. Go ahead.
Yep. No, it also references Silence of the Lambs.
Oh.
With Hannibal and Clarice, with Clarice visiting him and being like, "Yo, I need your help," and helping him escape from prison so that they can go hunt what was it? Big I hate that dude. I hate that movie. Yeah.
It wasn't as violent, but it was giving me a little bit of Punisher Netflix tease.
That was super violent.
Yeah. Nowhere near as violent, but still just that feel. The fact that you working with your enemies, you have Zemo here working directly with Sam and Bucky.
That's like every single, especially usually like the third or fourth, 80s movie or whatever in the series. They always have to work with their enemies, or Fast and Furious. Like people forget.
Fast and Furious. I love Fast and Furious.
Oh, love it. But people forget that Jason Statham is like their hated enemy, and now suddenly it's, Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But yes, that's a prime example of that. Like we're going from bad to good, Yeah, so.
More prime examples include Bucky's bar fight in Madripoor. Bucky went off. I loved every second of Bucky going off.
Yeah, he put in some work.
Slow motion shots when you're doing your important meetups. Like, it was unnecessary slow motion. Let's face it. When they were walking back to go talk to Selby, wasn't really necessary. No, did it look cool? Absolutely.
Also, real quick on some musical notes on that bar fight in Madripoor. When they're in the bar fight, because Zemo this is really ill, and I actually saw this on a video on YouTube. I heard the Winter Soldier part, like Winter Soldier theme plays when Bucky starts going to work. Yes. But also interspersed with Winter Soldier's theme is Zemo's notes from Civil War. Oh. So it's showing you that Zemo's...
that they're working together.
Yeah, and Zemo's in control of this situation once again, that he's goading him, forcing him, you know, all these type of things. Even without using the words that we'll get into later, that, you know, y'all know the words.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Bucky chose violence. When I say,
Facts.
I mean, this was a clear indication of him choosing violence, because he ain't need to do all that, but I was having a blast. Also, indicative of all of this stuff, the illegal trade meetups gone bad. That happens all the time. The meetups never work. They're always like, okay, we're going to pretend that we're this people. Something always goes wrong, as we see what happens when, Sam gets that call from his sister, Sarah, and she calls him Sam in the middle of him trying to impersonate Smiling Tiger.
That was what I was talking about, like where I was like, okay, the cheese factor in this episode is a little much, you know?
Well, it was just silly. And also silly, the ridiculous bounties. Like, whenever you see your heroes on the run in these types of movies, there's always some $1 billion bounty or something like that. Not quite $1 billion, but getting up there. They put a 1K Bitcoin bounty on these folks, and that's approximately like $58 million USD. So it's just for them to be like, they're dead immediately. Them escaping from cell Bs, the club scene, like the dancing and all that carrying on, particularly from what'd you call him, Baron with the beat, or Baron on the beat?
Baron on the beat.
Baron on the beat.
Yeah, that was then even that. Like I say, we had a different, you know, like me and you remember Budapest very differently. Because like this episode, I was like when they come out of the club scene, they're like,
well, that was cheesy, but that was on purpose.
No, but when it was great, don't get me wrong. Baron, you know, dancing in the club, I loved it. But when they come out of the scene, Falcon and Baron are like, yo, Madripoor gives New York a run for the money. Yeah. I'm just like, oh my God, this is like, really, dog, this dude is a monster. And y'all just broke him out of prison.
We're going to talk about that, okay? Yeah. But this is the themes, okay?
Yes.
And rounding out...
And that's in that theme, the cheese.
Rounding these out is the idea of, like, heroes using little pop pistols versus Uzis,
that's
Dracos.
Versus anything, yo. My man's stepped out. I mean, they stepped through an explosion that should have killed all of them.
Yeah. You know, giant random explosions.
I mean, just should have been dead.
Heroes walking away from certain death.
Yeah, they walk out and just start busting, like straight up start busting on these fools with pistols while these cats drop every gun in the book, and they are just straight pow, 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 and you know.
Like, I understand Bucky, and I guess they got out the shipping container fast enough when it blew up after the...
Hell no!
But how? Maybe Bucky, how did all of them walk away?
They were on the second floor, you know, like upstairs. That shit gets hit by a rocket. They're laying on the ground. They get up, and then it explodes. And then suddenly, like, they're just walking out. I got it because it was hilarious, but it was also like, what? Like,
yeah.
You know, I mean, they were on the second floor and it explodes, and you at least think like there could be, you know, oh, let's get out of here. No, they just walk out, start shooting, start cracking jokes about going left. I mean,
and even that idea of Bucky and Sam arguing also reminded me of Rush Hour. It reminded me of
every single one.
And Jackie Chan, when they are constantly like just arguing in the middle of fights, and it's just like, this is not the time, and it's just going off. And that's what I'm saying when we talk about like that 80s, 90s action movie style and the tropes and the cheese factor that goes along with it.
And that Rush Hour, you know, goes back before that to like Lethal Weapon, which I'm sure there are references before that. As far as I know, Lethal Weapon is one of the first modern ones with this black and white, you know, tag team, which they later replaced with the Asian. But it's usually, you know, people of different worlds, whatever, trying to understand each other. I can't understand the word you're saying. You know what I mean? It's always... Yeah, and while, you know, in Lethal Weapon, I'm too old for this shit. Like, I'm waiting for somebody to come with that or some variation of that. Like, Bucky, the white man, needs to come with... What's his name? I'm getting too old for this shit.
You were complaining about cheese factor, so what if Bucky said that this episode?
Oh, I would have loved it.
All right, then.
Yeah, I would have loved it. Oh, I would have lost it. Like, if somebody, like,
he's 106, remember that.
When Bucky threw the pipe through that woman, and we'll get into this, because there was some serious reaction from Bucky, in that scene when he throws his pipe at the woman.
Yes.
But I'm reminded of Commando, where Arnold throws a pipe through a man, and then the steam comes out, and he says, "Let off some steam." Like, that's the type of shit I need. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God.
Dead ass. That's or
I
another.
mean, I never knew. Like, I don't know what the scene you're talking about. I've never seen it before. So
Oh my God!
Say that
okay, let me tell
actually
you.
happened. I'm
you
like,
have to watch Commando. Like, it's something that even if you've never seen it, you will cry because it is just the most. It's just line after line of pure stupidity like that. Just 5 minutes into the movie, it starts and it never lets up, and they're all perfect. Yeah. Or like in Predator, he does it too. A dude busts through the wall, he throws a knife, and it sticks him to the wall. Yeah. Stick around.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's some Mr. Freeze shit.
That's what I miss. I miss that from action movies. Like, they try and do it nowadays. Like, Rock tries to do it in Fast and Furious. Like, Daddy's got to go to work when he busts off the thing. But it's still not like, stick around or let off some steam. Like, my man is literally pouring steam from his chest. And
so you want iconic cheese lines.
There you go. Thank you. That's what I want. I want him to be over the top ridiculous,
Gotcha.
Iconic.
Yeah. All right.
And I didn't get that in this episode. Nobody really had any great line. Like, Bucky's too shook after he throws the pipe through the woman to say some, light, swift shit right there. That's what I needed right there.
What would you want him to have said? And not the steam line. Please don't say that.
Pin a tail on a donkey. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. No.
That's off the top of my head. Wait, he threw a pipe, right?
Yeah. No, God. I'm afraid of what you're going to say.
I am too. So let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next theme.
He could have done the he's trying to get the pipe. Who's my man? There's a ball player who said this line to a woman in a direct message. This is a true story. Oh God, I can't believe his name is slipping my mind right now.
Are you okay? We're moving on. We're moving on to the next theme.
That would have been so good. Okay.
The next theme is women do the work. And I pull this up as a theme because within episode 3, you see women from both sides of the equation, meaning whether you agree with them or disagree, whether they're protagonists or antagonists. You see women from all over doing the legwork and the wet work. Now, if you are in a certain line of business, you know what wet work means. And a lot of this
these women do.
A lot of the work that these women are doing is commonly associated with men. And also, this episode flips some of the tropes that happen within women in the action genre. Let's start first with Sharon. So, Sharon Carter, as we meet her up in Madripoor, we find out that she's been laying low here. Like, she had been on the run and still is on the run. So, first, my question is, how the fuck is you still on the run? But, I get he's an Avenger, but what's his face? Sam and even Bucky got pardoned and they cool. So, I'm like, I know you was a SHIELD agent, then you was CIA, then you was that, but like, you don't get nothing?
This keeps going back to our theory that Captain America, Steve Rogers is garbage. Because
Sharon, and let's set the stage real quick, because for people who don't 100% know who Sharon Carter is, Sharon, and depending on if you're looking at the comics or you're looking at the MCU, she's either the niece or the great niece of Peggy Carter.
Yes.
Peggy Carter is Cap's girl. The
one
Cap.
He went to give the pipe to.
This is why
we started it, and I'm gonna finish it.
So and also like, was it Civil War where like Sharon was acting like she was somebody else, and she was living next door to Steve, and they kind of almost had a romantic relationship. In the comics, they do end up having a romantic relationship.
They damn sure do.
Which is actually a little weird, but
it gets super. Trust me, I just read those. Oh my God, like the disrespect.
Great niece / niece.
You just like triggered me and brought me back to it, because I just read the Ed Brubaker Captain America run where he first creates the Winter Soldier and all this idea of Bucky and everything we've seen, and like a lot of the iconic lines are taken from it. But what has not been taken from it so far is the utter disrespect that Ed Brubaker and everyone involved in the creation of this comic have for the character of Sharon Carter. I was appalled.
A man would do that.
No, but fam, this shit ain't old. This shit is like
I know.
Less than 10 years old, and people called it iconic. You know, they're like, oh my God, you got to read it. And I'm reading it. I'm like, okay, this is all right. It's a little overly violent. And yes, a lot of the dope stuff we've seen with the Winter Soldiers in there, just the idea of Bucky surviving and getting this metal arm, all that comes from that. So that's fire, right? Mm-hmm. But oh my God, I don't want to spoil it for people, but just the way Sharon Carter is, I mean,
treated.
It's just on a level that I would not even expect in a comic that was made in this century.
So is her treatment reflective in the Falcon the Winter Soldier? Maybe not the specifics, but the fact that she is disrespected in here too.
I mean, now that you bring it to that level, yes.
Yeah.
But no, because like
it's worse in the comics. Okay.
Oh my, no, it's like shiver me timbers worse. You know, it's like, you know, I'm shuddering thinking of, you know, what happened to that poor woman. Yeah, it was like, this is like the worst. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? I don't think I finished the run because I just gave up after a while because I was like, yo, I get it. And I've seen a lot of this already. You've already seen it in Civil War, so I didn't really feel like it was necessary to read. And then the disrespect for Sharon became too much.
Damn.
I was like, there's other comics I can read other than the one that just hates this woman like this one does.
Well, now that you know you have the background of Sharon Carter, it seems like disrespect is running in the veins.
It does, it seems. Yeah.
Out here in Madripoor, she is out here hustling like Kingpin. She killing fools left and right like Black Widow. What'd you say? She's saving no fools. What's that?
Saving, ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Sparing no fools.
Sparing no fools or whatever that phrase goes. I've heard you say it. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
She saves Zemo, saves Sam, saves Bucky multiple times. And she single-handedly takes out like 15 armed people.
Man.
She has nobody backing her up. She out here running the streets of the world by herself. And she expresses that what she had did in the past to help them, how she stole Cap's shield and even the wings for Falcon when they were still on the run. And she's still out here on the run. And that's why I'm once again, where are these people insurance pays? Like Steve Rogers went back in time and he couldn't have set the stage for niggas.
I mean, my man is straight up going back to knock up her great aunt. And it's like, you know, but while I do that, you know, figure it out, baby. I got other things to do.
Yeah. Well, also, I forgot one point to make about Sharon. Also in the comics, she's known as Agent 13.
Yes.
And 13 is a very unlucky number. So maybe this is just part of her DNA. She's just pretty unlucky. I don't know.
I never thought of it like that. Yeah, I'm saying I was reading this comic and I was like, oh, die. You know, it was just when like, you know, ugh. I could not finish it. Throw it over my shoulder and keep walking forward.
And is this show like all about everybody white having a black sidekick? Because
wow.
At the end, when Sharon gets in the car, she got an assistant.
Black Alfred.
Alfred. I don't know who she is. She got a black sidekick too, but whatever. Anyways, also...
At least her hairline is good.
Yes.
Yes.
Within the Women Do the Work theme, we also have Carly Morgenthal. And she goes off the deep end in this episode. Now, you could say that... I have to question whether this is logical.
Premeditated? Not really?
Well, no, it was definitely premeditated, but is it logical for, and we'll explain why specifically. So she says this phrase. She says after she didn't, first of all, when they stole the food from the GRC, like supply depot or whatever, she didn't get back in her car. And her homeboy was like, oh, you're not going back? I already knew it was about to happen. I'm like, that's a car bombing that bitch.
Yeah. Yep.
The thing blows up. Assumingly she kills like all 20 soldiers that are in there. And when her homeboy questions her about it, she says, this is the only language these people understand. She's referring to the language of violence.
Is it so?
Okay. She was referring to the language of violence, which is actually right parallel with her male counterpart in the comics, Carl Morgenthal. Because that's literally what he says. He goes, violence is the only thing these people understand. And that's his motive and mantra as he moves forward in life. She's adopting that as well. And his name is actually Dovich. And he even is like, he's clutching his pearls like, damn, like, I didn't know we was doing all that. Like, you said that we was doing it for the people, but I didn't know we was really terrorists like that. Now, here's my question.
Terrorists.
They're terrorists. So here's my question. Even though, like I said, this is technically what this character is representative and says in the comics, and this is happening in the show, is this another case of the Killmonger effect? Now, Benhameen, you came, or Killmongerine is what you call it. You talked about it a lot, where you express how when villains or antagonists have either relatable points or approaches, and rather than have to fight the audience on the audience, whether they're gonna like stick with the villain, the writers basically jettison that alliance by having that villain or antagonist do something heinous.
And you pointed me to a thread on Twitter where somebody else was pointing out the same effect. And I responded to them that, I've been calling it the Killmonger effect, because in Black Panther, the film, Killmonger is so relatable. And then he suddenly shoots his girlfriend and chokes out some grandmas in the herb garden. And you're like, oh, okay, this guy's the villain. F it.
Right.
But it takes that. Otherwise, and
otherwise you might be on their side, because we've had discussions where we're like, the Flag Smashers aren't that bad.
Yes,
they're actually making valid points.
What I say and why I think Black Panther is one of the better written films is because it's also clear, if you're really paying attention, that Nakia's way is in the middle of both Killmonger and Black Panther, and she's been going that way since before. She's been using Wakanda to help out the rest of the world. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So it didn't really need all of that. It didn't need Killmonger. Yeah, a bookie. It didn't need the Killmongering, but they were like, well, let's make sure the audience understands this.
Yeah. That makes me feel stupid. Like, it makes me feel like you think I'm stupid. Like, I gotta make sure you understand this is the bad guy, but also, why can't it be to stay nuanced? Is that not enough?
And that's one of my problems, right? Because I don't feel like the nuance is applied on both. I don't feel like the Killmongering then is applied on both sides, right?
Right.
Because that's the problem I had with WandaVision, where Scarlet Witch is meant to feel, people are meant to feel sympathy for this woman. And that's bugged to me, because she, to me, was clearly one of the most evil characters of the series, if not the whole entire MCU. Now, in this episode alone, right, let me look to my notes here, because I have some notes on this subject.
Yeah, very valid ones, too.
Yes. All right, we have some evil, I'm
quote,
putting these in, quote unquote, actions. I don't like to even, good and evil are concepts, and it's always a very relative concept, right? And it's also, you don't know what your good action, your so-called good action. You might save a little kid from getting hit in the street by a car. That little kid grows up to be a mass murderer. Oh, you could have, damn it, should have let him get hit maybe? No, but that's what I'm saying. You don't really know what your actions are, good or evil. That's all relative. So, but evil actions are the heroes this episode.
So Sam and Bucky.
Sam and Bucky are at least the protagonists, because that's something else people gotta understand, right? Your protagonist and your antagonist in a story may not be heroes or villains. Like in Infinity War, Thanos is the antagonist. The protagonist. Thanos has a goal to achieve. Get all the rings and snap his fingers. Get all the stones and snap his fingers. He achieves his goal by beating the antagonist, the Avengers, right? Because Thanos goes on a mission. He moves the plot. That's what the protagonist does. It's not about whether or not you agree with their actions. It's just they move the plot.
Thanos is the protagonist
of Infinity War, yes. The movie is centered from his point of view.
Okay.
It's following him. It's about his journey to get these stones and to snap his fingers. The antagonist, that's why I love Infinity War so much, because all by itself, it's a complete film, right? It doesn't even need a sequel. Your protagonist achieved his goal. He snapped his fingers and eliminated half the universe, and he did what he said he was to do after that. He's going to sit down and be thanked by a grateful universe.
Well, I think that's interesting because my mind was flipped when you said that, because I'm stuck on the actions of that person as opposed to how it's written,
how it affects the story. That's what people don't. That's something a lot of people don't understand. Protagonist just means you start the story, and whatever actions you take move the story one way or another. And the antagonists are people who try and get in the way of your goal.
So it's not synonymous with bad and good.
Not at all. It has nothing to do with it. Another classic example, Die Hard. And I think this is when I figured this out, is like the writers of Infinity War said this clearly. They were like, we wrote from the perspective of Thanos for the first one. And then the second one's written from the perspective of the Avengers. But
that makes sense. Okay.
Yes. But another classic one is Die Hard. Die Hard, the first film especially, is written from the perspective of Hans Gruber, the terrorist, who is trying to rip off the Nakatomi Plaza and get this money and escape. He's stopped by, the antagonist, Bruce Willis. but he's the one who sets everything in motion. Bruce Willis just happens to be there.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
So what are these so-called quote-unquote evil actions of the heroes?
Yeah, back to that.
Episode 3.
Now that we've broken that down for a few minutes. Let's see. Bucky and Sam, are the protagonists at least, free a criminal from jail, a mastermind criminal. They cause a prison riot. During the prison riot, we see at least 2 people get injured by this fight. Plus, that's going to lead to other things because he gave a note where he said, man, your man's trying to kill you later. Can't really explain that away. I really don't understand how Bucky was being led through the open court of the prison, but I'll let that slide. That never happens, but, whatever. They invade a foreign country, Madripoor, cause millions of dollars in damage, are at the very least accessories to murder, if not murder themselves, because they definitely shoot a few people.
Well, in their defense, Madripoor is fairly lawless. It's kind of the Wild West.
That does not exclude them from having, I'm sure they have fairly lawless, does not mean the country does not have laws of its own. And you went above and beyond what, a criminal nation is still doing. They still don't want their shit blown up. They criminal activity still got money. Like, Black Dynamite, I sell drugs in the community.
You said criminals got to eat too, right?
Yeah, man. I got to still sell this heroin just to make ends meet.
I got kids.
Man. I got so many Black Dynamite quotes, folks. We could do this all day. Yes. And last but not least, they are trafficking. I don't know what you call flying around in a private jet sipping Sam Pizzle with a criminal is, but they did that. They up in the sky. Ooh, look at us.
And the criminal on the run because he's wanted now.
Partying with, he's wanted by multiple nations at this point,
Yeah.
Like worldwide, FBI, everybody's, 3-letter organization, KGB, whatever you want, don't matter. He's in their top 5, and they just rolling around at the club with my man, doing it up. Like these dudes make a lot of choices that could be considered very criminal or heinous from a certain point of view. But we like them because they're our heroes,
And they're positioned in that way when
they're
you watch
positioned in that way. Position, which is also something that a song choice relates to in this episode.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. In the women do the work theme, we also have to mention Io, the legendary Io, who appears at the very end of this episode, which was an incredible surprise for me. Io is played by the actress Florence Kasumba, who I've actually interviewed her a few years back. We have that on our For All Nerds TV YouTube channel if you want to take a look at that. Florence is has such great energy, and she's just a cool person. Period. Just forget everything else she can do and all the amazing skills and all the stuff she has. She's just a dope person. But yes, though we don't get to see her in action, we already know what she is about. We've seen Black Panther. She's a Dora Milaje member. You see how she pulled up on Black Widow, the whole move or you will be moved situation. And she's back. She's here to, as I presume, to take down Zemo, because as we all seem to forget, Zemo is still responsible for the death of King T'Chaka.
And they remind you this episode, just in case you did forget. They were like, don't forget, Zemo killed this man's daddy. Yeah,
like I know Baron on the Beat dancing is cute, but he's also responsible for putting in motion a lot of this bullshit. So,
and when he killed King T'Chaka, a lot of other people too. My man,
a lot of people in the UN situation, bro.
Yeah, that was rough. Like he's a murderer.
Yeah, it was so funny the way Io gets revealed, because when Bucky, I had to watch the scene a couple times to notice, but Bucky looks down at the ground as they walk into the cafe or wherever they're building they're walking to. Yep. He looks down at the ground real quick, and then he plays it so fucking smooth, number one. And I'll meet up with y'all, and then he picks up the bead. And at first I didn't realize what it was. Then
right away.
When he got to the second bead, I was like, what is that writing? Oh my God, that's a Kamoyo bead. I flips out. I actually own a pair. I don't have it with me right now. I actually own a pair, or I don't know if you call it pair, but I actually own some real life Kamoyo beads, and they're pretty heavy. They were given as a gift during that whole Black Panther stuff that we did back then. Crown Wakanda, what up? And I immediately got in my feels, because I'm like, oh my God, Black Panther stuff. Oh my God. Like, it started transporting me back to 2018. Even at that point, I paused it and I turned on Black Panther on Disney Plus, because I was trying to see some other scenes, and I felt the emotion start welling up in me. I was like, I felt a little bit transported back to where I was. Could also be all the TikToks I've been watching of all the Black TikTokers talking about, how they felt about Black Panther, but it was just, oh man, it was such a nice, like, I don't know, intro to throw her back in there and make that next connection.
No, I loved it. As soon as I saw the beat, I was like, wait, Wakanda? I think that's what I said as I was watching it. I was like, Wakanda? I just immediately,
immediately
threw it off immediately.
Fell right
like,
back
Wakanda?
into it. Yo.
Yeah, and then, to see her, it was just so great. But, we've been talking about this hut in Wakanda, she came here and said, I'm here for Zemo. But we all know that she was really there for her man. That's why she had to say that.
Oh my God, Ayo was not in the hut. We're not doing that.
No, I won't. Personally, people have suggested this to me. I
don't want that. No, I don't want that, number one. Number two, if you want to be all, that's not canon, it's because in the comics, she has a relationship with another Dora Milaje member called Anika.
Yes. And they have one of the
and they can just keep that. They don't need to turn it to the White Wolf.
No, because they have a dope relationship. They get these ill suits and costumes. Yeah.
What are their names that they turn? The Night?
The Night something.
Night or something like
yeah, you got to look that one. I forgot that one right now. But
yeah.
Bucky was definitely in that hut with somebody, but it was not Argo or Io. But what I loved is in that scene, which also helps bring you back, is when she's revealed Okoye's music from the club scene in, what were they, in Korea? When she's whipping around with the...
Oh, the choop, choop, choop.
Yep, that kicks in.
The Dora Milaje music.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying, where I fell back into like, oh my God, I'm sitting in the theaters crying, bawling my face off, watching Black Panther.
Yeah, because the music kicked in, so it's just bringing you back. And like I said, the music was so well done in this episode because they keep using people's themes like that to bring you back to these moments. So that was great.
Yeah, and like you said, this particular episode was very musical in general. Like it just so much more than we've seen before, and it just elicited so many different types of emotions. Yep. So again, just very well done. And finally, in this vein about women running things, I thought this was actually a funny ass line where they're running away from the Selby spot. They in the streets, and Sam running his, as he calls it, his pimp suit, and he complains about not being able to run in heels. And this is absolutely hilarious because when you think of all these types of action scenes and movies and stuff, women are often put in ridiculous outfits and wearing heels, and they're told to play this role, and they do it flawlessly. And it's stuff that, like, what is that scene? It's like, basically all of Jurassic Park, the last Jurassic Park, where Bryce Dallas Howard or whatever, she's running around these heels, and it's like, bro, you're getting chased by T-Rexes and shit, bro. Like, you're not running in heels. And like it's absolutely stupid. And I thought it was funny because if you also think about it, in that scene, all that Madripoor stuff just reminded me of the fight scenes in Black Panther, specifically when they were in Busan in South Korea. Like the color scheme, the approach was very similar. And if you want to switch out, especially the way they were dressed, if you want to switch out Sam for Nakia took her shoes off.
Yep.
She said, fuck that shit, and she went to work. So I just thought it was just funny. Like, you have men complaining about stuff that women have to just do and just have to deal with. Like, he's worried about heels and shit. Meanwhile, Sharon is over here fucking have 63 KOs in a row and shit. Like, it's just wild to me.
Okay, since we're talking about Madripoor and how it reminded you of Korea, it also very much reminded me, the aesthetic, at least for the show, reminded me of like Blade Runner, of Final Fantasy, especially the remake I just played when they run it through the city, on the lower shit with all the, all the neon and everything. When they get to that one area and it's all turned to neon, everything is all they glow bright. Yeah, so it was all that feel. So I loved all that too.
Absolutely. Our next theme is America the Brute.
I think this is really the most important theme of the episode.
This is super duper important because there's lots of indictments, there's lots of conversations and debates within this episode about this.
Yep.
Now, right away at the beginning, you see this really, for me, it was a little off-putting, but this off-putting PSA that the Global Repatriation Council is playing. And they're like, oh, we're going to get you back to your family. And, oh, I know you need help for the blip. So they try to make like they your friend. And as soon as the PSA is over, the first thing you see is this paddy wagon that says GRC, but it says police. Like it's in German. And you see the door flies open and John Walker walks him and his Negro storming that bitch like the fucking Gestapo. And
wow,
I'm like,
him and
what
his
is
Negro?
this?
Wow.
Yes, him and his Negro. I told you I do not like Lamar, and we'll explain why.
Wow.
As I already did last episode, but I'm gonna keep going. Anyway, they walk in, I just don't, I didn't like their energy. I didn't like that energy. And it's just like, well, who the fuck is you? And I know me, they would have arrested me quick, because that's the first thing I'm saying. Who the fuck is you running up in my store? And of course, the cafe owner who had previously helped Carly and them, he stood up for himself. He was just like, don't fuck up my shit. What do y'all want? This is my store. I'm not saying anything to you. And also, you have no rights. And he even, when he's talking in German and the way John Walker's like, Lamar, come translate this shit. Like he's this fucking, this is what I'm talking about. Anyway, come translate this shit. I don't want to learn German. He translates or he doesn't translate, but you see it if you look at the closed caption. The shop owner says, "You American have become brutes." And it's just like, have we become? Have you already been that? What's going on?
Yeah, I think the shop owner a little late. Like, this man just catching up. Like, fuck, man, your knowledge of American history is pretty short right there. Also, a very important line in this scene is when John says, "You don't know who I am."
Another reason why I don't like that nigga. I wake up every day saying, "Yo, I don't." This is why I also don't like him.
Well, this is very important. I don't like the way
his hair curls to the left. I don't fuck with it. Nope.
Because, I mean, it's better than that other man's lineup, but we'll get to that too. But this is very important right here, because Captain America, the original Steve Rogers, was always about, he had very simple mottos. He stands up to bullies. I can do this all day. He was not about that. It wasn't about the suit. He was trying to live up to the suit. Just like Sam is trying to live up to the suit. Yeah. While John feels like he deserves the suit.
Yeah. And also just that line about America, you have become brutes. It's because people are used to the way that Steve has approached things.
True.
They're used to his energy. And yeah, he may do violent things and this and that, but it just feels different. It comes off different.
At the same time, my man spit in this man's face. So like,
he deserved it.
All right, well,
it's what he deserves.
Well, he deserves a little shake up after that. You spit in my face, I'm shaking you up.
Okay, too. Yeah. If you assault somebody like that, all right. But my thing is, the shop owner was waiting for the smoke. He was ready for the smoke. He didn't give a damn.
Yeah, but the shop owner was also associated with terrorists who blew up a building later on that day and killed 20 people. Like, that's what I'm saying. People, once again, these morality for everyone on this show is a wavering, it's bending and breaking, it's moving.
But isn't that real life too?
Yes, it is.
Morality is not, I mean, I don't have anything to assimilate to compare it to, but it's not, as you say, it bends. Mm-hmm. And there are nuances, there are occasions where for some people it breaks completely.
Yeah, and it just depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation and what you're pushed to and what you're capable of, really. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also just this idea of like America and all this other stuff, and you have Zemo pretty much indicting everything about the American way.
Wait, can we go back to that scene real quick? Because I do have to ask this question. Yeah. Like, Cap comes in, helmet. Every member of the Gestapo police behind him, helmet. Lamar Hoskins, no helmet. Is it the lineup? It's the ass lineup, because his lineup is, can't even call that a lineup. Like, my man just has no lineup. His hair is terrible. I said his hair is terrible. His hair is terrible. Is that what's protecting him from gunfire?
Maybe. Back to Zemo.
Put it out to twitch.tv/forallnerds in the chat. Answer me. Is it the lineup that's saving this man's life? Goodness. I want to know.
I know the chat's going off right now. Yeah. Back to Zemo. Another clever phrase or clever conversation he has when he is expressing like they're supposed to be dressed up and acting like they're somebody else. So Bucky's supposed to be back to his Winter Soldier self, Zemo, but Sam needs a cover as well, right? Mm-hmm. So Zemo chooses what was really the most logical one. He makes him to this guy called Conrad Mack, aka Smiling Tiger, and that's actually a real character from the comics that just it's completely different from the way that he's expressed here. But in the show, he's well dressed. According to Zemo, he's African man. He's sharp, all this other stuff, and he's one of the Madripoor goons that be coming through. Mm-hmm. So as they're walking on the bridge towards Madripoor, Sam complains, and Sam been complaining a lot this episode, but Sam complains is like, why do I got this stupid outfit on? People gonna think I'm a pimp. And then Zemo says, only an American would assume a fashion-forward black man looks like a pimp.
Oh, bars.
Yeah. And that's pretty much bars, because it's just like, damn, like, you know how they try to say Americans are uncultured swine? Like, we don't know anything. And it just reminds you, like, with John, come here, Limar, and go translate this nigga's speech. Like, it's just like...
Damn it. You know what? I told somebody about your Mammy WandaVision theory this week, and they said they hated you because you have now ruined WandaVision for them forever, and
no,
they can never.
Well, if you got ruined off of that, I don't know what to tell you. Well, no, I love WandaVision.
They was already on the side of that Wanda was a monster and all that, but that was just a bridge too far for them.
It's the truth. We tell the truth on this show.
Yeah, you pointing that part out right there just really hurt me. Like.
It is. But also, that line is also a double entendre. And Ben, I would like you to explain why about that pimp line. Why that's a double entendre?
Oh, okay. Yes. That pimp line is a double entendre because Sam Wilson has a very complicated history in the comic books, part of which involves him having false memories implanted into his brain. Now, whether or not these false memories and actually whole persona are the Sam Wilson that we know and love, or Snap Wilson, the pimp, is kind of unclear up until recently.
Wait, so Snap Wilson is a real thing?
Yes. Okay. Basically, Sam at one point, the Red Scroll reveals to him that he injected these memories that we know, like the Sam Wilson we know, guy who's friend to Captain America and all that. He made that whole stuff up and put it into his head. And in reality, in the comics. And in reality, Sam is a character named Snap Wilson, a street pimp.
Okay.
So what's even sadder about this is Sam grapples with this for the next 30 years.
What?
Am I a pimp? Or am I, the social worker that I thought I was? It's which of my memories are true? It's like Total Recall, because comics take forever and people are assholes. The two reasons. So Sam, literally, it was not until a very recent story, in the last 10 years, where Sam is like, no, I am Sam Wilson. That Snap Wilson is some bullshit he made up.
Okay.
But yes, for 30 years, Sam wasn't sure whether he was a pimp or a social worker.
Did they draw Sam like a pimp?
Did they? I mean, my man is seen with women on the street. He got the smooth. It's like it is. Google it, y'all, because y'all have to read these panels. They'll come right up, and they are just comedy. Oh my God,
wow,
it's so bad.
Did not know that.
Oh, it's so bad, and that's not the only one. Blade was a jazz trumpeter at one point. Because why not?
All these secondary side jobs and all this stuff, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course,
you see how niggas don't got money, so everybody needs a second job. Everybody running Lyft and shit like that. So, hey.
And, the famous Luke Cage, getting his powers while in prison,
Right.
Black people just cannot, just can't be, getting bit by a radioactive spider or anything like that.
Yeah. Zemo also says, this is when they're on his private jet, his PJ, he says the problem with America's super soldiers and people like them is that we put them on pedestals. They become symbols, icons, and then we forget about their flaws. And
Bars.
isn't that also talking about the show itself? It's talking a lot about what you yourself are saying, where the morality of even us as watchers is getting bent out of shape, because we're all like, oh, I like him. He's cool. He's funny, or she's funny, or this and that. But it's also like, but that person also killed XYZ people. So that's the part where you say you forget about their flaws. And then he turns to Bucky and says, remember when y'all ass was in Germany and you had to deal with the mad icon? He was talking about Hitler.
Yeah, and also Stroll. And so Red Scroll. Yeah. He said, we don't want people like the Red Scroll going around.
Yeah.
And also that goes back to what he said to Captain America when he finally met Steve Rogers. He's like, oh, look at your eyes. You have flecks of green in them. Look at the flaw. He couldn't believe it, because in his mind, Steve was this perfect symbol. And so when he finally sees the human, but what he doesn't realize, what Sam doesn't realize, like we said before, is that Steve is so human. That's what made him be able to become Captain America. And it's something that people mistake about him, and what Marvel's gotten so right about him, and what DC has failed recently to get at least in the movies about Superman, is that Superman, just like Steve, is not all the power he has. It's the fact that he is just, at his core, is so human and believes in humanity so much and the idea of humanity at their best. So he just wants to see the best out of people. You know, it's not a Boy Scout mentality. Like, we don't think of Captain America as any Boy Scout in the MCU.
Nope,
but
I don't.
He still has the mentality that Superman should have. You know, stand up to the bully. You know, I can do this all day. You know, everybody around me, you know, come on, we're a team. You know, like when it's me and then, okay, if there ain't no team and Thanos and the world is going to end, I strap on the shield and let's go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You make that comparison because Superman feels like a fed so much more.
But he's not. Superman is like one of the greatest.
I'm just saying the way he feels. He feels so much more like a fed than Sam, even though, not Sam, but Steve Rogers, where Steve technically is a fed.
Steve technically is a fed, while Superman is technically the illegal alien. You know what I mean? But Superman, and that's the thing, Superman to me is, and that's why I hate when people say, oh, he's a Boy Scout, he's this, he's that. No, but he's not, because Superman will deal with you when it, you know, and it has, and for the comics, this is consistent over his whole run. He will deal with you when necessary.
Yeah.
You know, but he just knows his power, so he's never going to do that until someone has the power, like Darkseid, Mongul. When they show up, it's like, oh no, because y'all will do something to my Earth and my humanity and the people I love, so I will deal with y'all. It ain't about no, you know, I never got that. You know, he's just about belief and about, like, you know, humanity at his greatness. It's basically the Jesus thing. That's why, but that's what Zack Snyder gets wrong. You can't make him do the Jesus pose. He has to be Jesus.
Well, we're not going to talk about Zack Snyder anymore. But also, just closing this one out, Sharon talks about hero hypocrisy. And I'm calling that hero hypocrisy, but she mentions the stars and stripes bullshit. The fact that it's really all a lie, because at the end of the day, look how she was treated. She is, and I mean, there's other examples of that. Look at Isaiah, like these people who were put out there to protect and do this and be covert and all this stuff. And then America basically disavows you, the government anyway, disavows you and got nothing for you at the end of the day.
Facts.
And also finding that conversation around what the shield represents, meaning the Captain America shield, but also that symbolic nature of America's might and all that stuff. And Sam says, how many people have to get steamrolled to make way for this hunk of metal? And Bucky retorts, that hunk of metal saved a lot of lives. And they go a little back and forth right there, but that shows you that dichotomy of what different things mean to different people. Like someone in America might see the shield and think, oh, that's someone here to save the day and help me. And someone else in another country might be like, that is my oppressor.
Yeah, facts. Anybody who is down with, Hydra is like, yo, F that shield. Like, you know, and Hydra seems villainous to us, but that's because we won. You know, they're just people, you know, like as we've seen, S.H.I.E.L.D. has not been perfect. You know, none of these characters are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's not even like, because they've actually disassociated, you know, Hydra from, you know, Hitler. So it ain't like you can even say, well, you know, they were down with, you know, what Hitler was doing. They were just really down with, I don't know, trying to get the cosmic cube and stuff, like power. Sounds kind of American to me, you know?
Yeah.
Sounds like Tony Stark, but, you know, everybody loves Stark because he's witty.
Yeah.
And cute, you know. Red Skull looks like a red straw. Like, he's the villain, you know. It's pretty obvious. I loved, oh my God, I thought, that was my thing. I thought dude playing Red Straw was so funny and played it with such style in that first Avenger. Like, he was great. I would have followed that dude.
You mean Hugo Weaving?
Yes. Oh my God. When he's aiming,
amazing.
When he's aiming the laser at dudes and he misses the one time and he's like, oh. You know, and he re-aims and catches him on the second time. And he's like, yeah. When he gets him to say, oh, man, he's so good.
Finishing up in the themes of the episode, I just want to note that tagline of the GRC, the Global Repatriation Council, that says reset, restore, rebuild. We see that in the PSA commercial in the beginning. We also see that on posters all over the world whenever they're in particularly like those immigrant camps or whatever they're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was interesting how different people are approaching the idea of reset, restore, and rebuild. When Dr. Nagel, who actually explains that he was blipped, When he returns from the blip, he continues his work that he had previously commissioned for the CIA commissioned previously. Yeah. And he's now doing this work for the Power Broker and Madripoor. The work is the recreation of the super soldier serum. So, he's coming back, he's resetting, he's restoring, he's rebuilding his work. You see Zemo on the other side, he kills Dr. Nagel. No one told him to do this shit, but he feels like he has to finish his job of ending any ties or approaches to the super soldier program. His whole thing was to end that whole bullshit because he doesn't want a team created that's similar to Avengers. And the Avengers are responsible for the death of his wife and kids. So he doesn't want
his country.
And he doesn't want this shit to keep continuing. You even see Carly and the Flag Smashers. Those are also potentially people who return from the blip who are trying to, in their case, they're trying to restore unity among people after everyone's been displaced. So they're trying to rebuild something totally different than what the GRC and the rest of the world may be trying to do.
And I think they're Carly and them actually are non-blippers.
They're non-blippers, right.
They want the world to...
They talk a lot about what about the people who were still there?
That's what they went
through. How do they live? Right, right.
They were there and they liked it the way it was. And now they're like, no, the people are back and they're coming back to power.
Right.
Like the Avengers.
Yeah. And the last theme you had, this is a funny question you put. You said no racism moment of the week.
No, I mean, we've been having our racism moments of the week. We had the bank. We had... Do we
have to have a racism moment of the week in this show?
I'm wondering, I'm glad we didn't. Even though Sam did come off kind of slow in this episode, like my man didn't know about art, just a lot of little things. I was like, come on, Sam, like do better, bro. But then again, Sam was blipped out of existence for 5 years, and was a military dude before that. So,
yeah,
forgivable. Yeah.
I have a couple of things to say in the questions that need answers portion. Questions.
I got questions.
So, as I mentioned with the GRC, they kind of approach things like they're trying to be like they UNICEF or something. I don't particularly trust them.
Nah.
In that commercial, it says another line of helping you navigate changes to society, laws, and borders. And remember, Zemo mentioned towards the end, how after the Sokovia crisis, the neighboring countries, particularly like they cannibalized the land. They basically said, okay, well, this is my country now. Didn't that happen like with Russia and Crimea like last year or the year before? And now Sokovia doesn't even exist anymore, at least not as a standalone nation. And you're saying that means something else.
Yes, I am, folks. And time for my Mephisto moment of the week. Where Sokovia is a fictional Eastern European country. Another fictional Eastern European country is the one and only Latveria, home to Dr. Doom. Now, I thought of this, and a lot of other people, shout out to Screen Crush, and Ryan Carey, I think it is over there, who was talking about not only are they both Eastern European countries, Sokovia was destroyed, and left behind in the destruction was a large amount of vibranium, as in tons of it.
Oh.
So if a Eastern European country absorbs Sokovia's land, wouldn't that be a great place to get some metal to build armor or some doom bots or futuristic weapons? Anything else of that nature. So I'm thinking this might be our first hint at, Dr. Doom and Latveria.
I mean, the show does take place in Eastern Europe most of the time, so...
Yeah. I think this is just that first seeding, just that little bit you hear now, and that's probably all we get of it. If this means anything, I don't think we hear any more of it from the rest of the series.
The other reason why I say I don't like or trust the GRC is because this other line in this commercial, they said, helping you get back to the way things were. First of all, that's complete doublespeak. Because literally a moment ago, they're talking about trying to help people navigate changes and how to deal with the world as it is now. But then they turn around and say, well, we're going to help you get back to the old ways. There is no old ways, at least not for the typical person, not unless you're Carly Morgenthal and you stole super soldier serum and you going all at it. Like for the average person, there is no going back. We talk about that all the time when we think of scenarios within the blip. What if you're married or this and that and the person moves on and you come back, then what? Well, that person moved on and had a whole ass family. And you pop back up. Now what's supposed to happen? Shit can't go back the way it is. It's impossible when, again, those old ways or even the places or the constructs that you're in don't even exist anymore. And I said immigrant camp, I meant refugee camp. Like, that's why you have these places where people are completely displaced. They have nowhere to go. So that bit of doublespeak within this own PSA, I was just like, no, there's no way.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that made no sense.
And then the last question I had in this section, how exactly does Zemo's family get their money? Now, remember, so when they get Zemo out and they walking on the tarmac to his private jet, Sam says, "Oh, well, you rich." And Zemo's like, "I'm a Baron, duh." In the comics, Zemo's a Nazi.
Yeah,
and,
straight up.
You know, Nazis be stealing shit and all this stuff. Now, earlier in the episode, you see Zemo in, I just assume it's like one of his underground bunkers or some shit. You see he has all of these old-timey cars that look like they worth some money. And it's type of cars that would have been positioned in that Red Skull era that gets passed down after generation that are typically stolen goods.
I don't think so. They're not going to go with Nazis one.
No, they're not. But I'm like, how did they get their money?
Imperialism.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, how's the old white money get their money? Stealing it from, brown people around the world. Put their foot on the nets of brown people. That's how they get it.
Killmonger said so.
Yeah, I mean, where you think this came from? Think your people? He didn't really shake his head when he said it, but you know, inside he was like, "You think he wanted to shake his neck at her real quick, like, won't your people stole this?" He wanted to give her the Daniel side eye.
Oh my god! Oh, the Daniel Kaluuya side.
He had the Daniel Kaluuya.
Yo,
you think your people?
Okay, let's go into the characters. The morality, the bent morality when it comes to Zemo, man, and what he represents and what he really is. And again, was that maybe a good idea to spring him? Probably not, because the nigga don't listen. Okay? No. Right at the very beginning, Sam and Bucky tell him, do not make a move without the permission. What does that nigga do a day later or whatever the time period is? He kills Dr. Nagel without their permission. He makes several moves without their permission. I'm just like, as soon as he showed up, I'm like, y'all know y'all can't control him, right?
Nope. No.
And like, I know it's a time of desperation. It's just like, this is better than nothing. But it's also like, y'all do know y'all truly can't trust this man.
I mean, on that note, Zemo's plan is to kill Bucky, right? Like,
the super soldier at the very end.
It has to end with that, right? You know?
You think that at the end of the day, he's still, because remember, he looks at Bucky when he tries to, first of all, when Bucky first meet up with him at the jail, he tries to say the code words to try to activate the programming. And Bucky's like, nah, fam, I don't do that no more. That's not me. And Zemo was like, yeah, but I still wanted to see how you felt about it. And you can see Bucky seeming unnerved about it, like something ain't right. And even as Zemo gets close to staring at him, he goes, I still see a little bit in you. He almost has to see a little bitch still in you. Like, that's
no, not
the way Zemo looked at him.
A little monster still in you.
Yeah, I know what he meant. I was just making a joke. But yes, he did that. He gave him that look like, I still feel like it's a little bit of that Winter Soldier still up in you. And that's why I'm just like, to your point, does he really feel like, at the end of the day, he really wants to kill Bucky?
Kill Bucky, kill Bill. And like in the fight, he tells Sam, see how easily he slips back into these old ways. So he's like, look, this dude is a monster still, no matter what. And like Falcon, like Sam says in the ship when they're talking about Trouble Man, he's out of line, but he's right. And that's pretty much Zemo's whole, modus operandi. Is that how they say it? Like, out of line, but right. Like,
yeah.
Like,
he's been saying some wild, like, real shit this whole episode.
Yeah. So. I mean, throughout his whole thing, that's the thing. He has been saying what I've been saying since the gate. Like, that's why Zemo was such a relatable villain. He was one of the big villains that people first related to, because he's basically right. The Marvel superheroes are completely out of control. Wherever they go, world-ending destruction follows them.
Zemo does get to wear his iconic mask.
Ooh.
In this episode.
And he got to have his collar. Let me talk about how
the collar with the...
hold on. My man's, like, turtleneck with the Star Trek, cross stitch right there with purple. But the jacket with the snow leopard collar.
Snow leopard collar, yes.
But you had to peep really quickly that the jacket was lined with purple. Like, my man was stunting.
He was stunting. I mean, he was stylish.
Stunting. I mean, he had the purple, Scully, the purple turtleneck, the purple line, and you got to coordinate.
The purple face mask.
purple. Yeah,
ski mask.
Yeah, ski mask style. You know what I mean? Nigga, ransom note. Far from handsome, but the nigga tote. More guns than roses.
Anything else you want to say about Zemo before we move on?
Oh, let's see. Oh, I do want to talk about Machiavelli the Don, Illuminati. How Zemo is in his prison cell. I mean, Zemo is reading throughout this episode. My man is definitely about them books.
He has a whole book club.
Yeah, a whole book club going on. Mm-hmm. But in the prison cell, he is reading from Machiavelli, not the Prince, but he is reading from Machiavelli, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Tupac Shakur, for those that know or for those don't know, while he was in prison, read Machiavelli's The Prince, which espouses a lot of Machiavelli's core ideals, such as it's greater to be feared than to be loved, and to project a different image to the public than the one you do around people. I mean, he really wasn't about having friends, so more about a close circle, you know, because it wasn't about friends. Yeah. So these are a lot of things that we see Baron Zemo doing, you know, projecting a different image to the public, throwing on the mask. But the ill thing that I'm wondering, because Zemo in the comics stays dying and, you know, mysteriously coming back to life, right? Okay. So I'm wondering, will this series end with Zemo dying, faking his death as Machiavelli recommended doing? And that was a lot of the reasons why people thought Tupac had faked his death, because he changed his name to Machiavelli. He put out this Machiavelli album, and then he was actually dead by the time the album was even released. So people were like, oh, he's just faking his death like Machiavelli did. Right.
So is this his theme, like in the Zemo book club? Is this his theme of kind of like moving away from the idea of love and all this stuff? And
most definitely.
Is this because of what he went through again with the Avengers it's the Avengers' fault that his family died at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
He later on in this episode, he reads, and I don't want to butcher this German, but he reads this book that loosely translates to like the know in love or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it talks about freeing yourself from like interpersonal conflicts by navigating that space between love and just partnership with someone. So I'm just like, so now that you're saying that about the, you know, what he's reading in Machiavelli, I'm just like, is this his whole thing?
It's a cold game for my man right now.
Cold world.
You know, my man is straight up Machiavelli out of prison right now, you know? Illuminati, you know, Hail Mary. Run, quit, see.
I could not see him rapping, but no, please.
Oh, come on. You saw that? He was like, right then, he was bars in his head. That's all you think of, bars. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna murder these cats later. Mom spaghetti.
No. No. Sharon Carter, we're moving on. Sharon Carter, we talked a lot about her and her wild background in the comics and how we getting some of that disrespect in the MCU in this show. That being said, there is a major theory that we've been thinking about, and I'm just like, is this too obvious? But what is the theory, Ben? You talk about it.
All right, first of all, we have to ask the question, who is the power broker, right?
Right.
Now, in the comics, the power broker is a character who we talked about before, gives powers to individuals, mainly like strength, endurance, all that. The super soldier serum, but even more amped up, because he gave it to Super Patriot, who is the John Walker, and he basically was stronger than Cap in the book and laid into that man. Just like we've even seen, like the new super soldiers are about as strong as Cap, but basically he gives out super soldier serum, and it seems in the MCU, he or she or they, whatever. Now, there's a couple of clues to the power broker's identity in the show, right? In the background, when they're in Madripoor, we see a graffiti with, you know, eyes on it that says the power broker is watching you. Mm-hmm. Watching, right? Like the Big Brother, which is like taken from 1984. Big Brother is watching you. All right, now there's my two major theories on who the power broker is are, 1, Sharon Carter, 2, Arnhem Zola. All right?
Oh, okay.
Now, if you've forgotten who Arnhem Zola is a character from the comics and from the MCU. He was in Captain America: The First Avenger, and he returns in that Civil War or Winter Soldier. One of the two, that's Winter. I can never remember. But he returns in that one. But anyway, Arnhem Zola is an assistant to the Red Skull. He's a little man with glasses. He's a scientist. He's helping the Red Skull out.
Okay.
Yes, he gets blown up in the first Avenger, but returns as a robot, disembodied intelligence that lures Captain America and Black Widow down into this bunker, reveals his plan, and then tries to blow them up with a missile. And is assumed blown up right there.
Okay.
But in the comics, once again, he's the same type of character where he was once a human, but then his brain gets transferred into computers. And normally he goes around, once again, y'all have to Google it, or you need to see a picture. Hopefully we can put one up for you of, he goes around in a robot body with his face on the chest. Like on the robot's chest is a computer screen with his face on it. And then the robot's head is just a little camera so he can see through.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, it's this real weird and hilarious looking thing.
No.
Now, so we have the idea of the power broker watching you, right? Which is Arnhem Zola and his computer. There's some green screens, like the Matrix type green screens that we see for a couple of shots when they're in Madripoor, like someone watching them through a security camera. Mm-hmm. And Arnhem Zola, when he showed up to see Captain America in that movie, he has the green screen on because he's on an old school computer, you know, them ancient ones that only had the green screens.
Okay.
Yes. So
now,
that's the hint there.
That's him. Now, why do you think it might be Sharon?
Now, I think it might be Sharon, or she is working for him. One of the two, right? It's pretty clear. She is either the power broker or she is working for whoever the power broker is. Because we only have 3 episodes left, I don't think they have time to introduce somebody new and be like, oh, this is the power broker. So that's why I'm leaning towards Arnhem or Sharon, because we've already seen both of them, right? And Arnhem coming back, we're like, oh, shit, he's back, and he's the power broker. But why Sharon? Sharon, as we see, is upset. Like Bucky says, oh, she's pretty terrible now. Yeah. But actually, she's just like the rest of y'all, kind of just, you know, gray. But we see Sharon has the big money, the big house.
Stay in Hightown in Madripoor.
Stay in Hightown, right? Where all the big dealers, where, you know, people power stay.
Big baller brand, yeah.
Big baller brand. She trades art, brokers art, right?
Brokers.
She has armed
stolen
guards.
Art.
Yeah, stolen art. And that was another thing, right? Because people were talking about what turns someone from, like, I guess, democratic to fascist. Yeah. And it's when you start doing things like hoarding art. When you start hoarding things and are like, oh, this is mine and not y'all's.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, she
has armed guards at the crib.
Right. I mean, and it's funny because Sam or one of them questions her. They're like, "Oh, so this is just how you?" But essentially, they say this is how you live, and she's like, "Why not? Like y'all left me out to dry. Y'all being America, y'all left me out to dry. So why can't I just live like this?"
Yes. And then, like we say, when she gets put up by her black butler at the end, they, you know, they tell she's like, "We have 2 problems to deal with now." Now
she did say 2 problems.
Yes.
The first is what? Nagel.
Or is it? Yeah. Okay. Now that's the question, right? Why would she lead them towards Nagel if Nagel's working for her? Because that, you know,
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Now all those people who attacked them, I'm not sure about. I do not believe that was the power brokers people who attacked them. I believe that was
regular people in the street because of that bounty.
Coming for that bounty, right?
1K Bitcoin, bro.
1K Bitcoin, yeah. So everybody's coming for that ass at that point.
What's the movie with my boy Keanu? That's
the mate John Wick.
John Wick, that's John Wick right there.
Yeah, and this episode was written by the writer of John Wick. So
and that's why the episode looked like that. Okay, now it makes sense.
Now it all made sense, right? Okay. Now it all comes together. And that was the thing. So, you know, all these people attacking, she kills them all. When she runs in after dude has killed him, but that's still questionable because Sharon knows that my man is about killing super soldiers and people who are down with super soldiers. So I don't know why she would send him there. But she runs in and she's like, what did you do? Like, she expected them maybe to stop him from doing that or didn't think he had the gat to do it, whatever. But she was like, what did you do?
You know, that sign where it's like the power broker is watching. Sharon is always around. She seems to be everywhere at any time. Like,
that's the other thing. She just caps.
She was in the bar when they were asking for Selby to begin with, and then she dipped out real secretive. Yeah. And but that's because I feel like why was she up in there? I don't know. But she was up in there. Then she was the sniper from hell, like you know, everyone's catching the bad one.
Then she's in the alley right after she snipes. Right up, finds him in the alley.
She's watching. I mean, it fits, but also I feel like, is that too obvious?
But is it? It's not that. Yeah, I don't think it's that obvious. I mean, it'd be weirder to be Arnhem Zola, you know, but then her working for Arnhem Zola would be like, why?
Yeah.
You know, and then that, I feel like that downgrades women again. And that's like what people kept doing for WandaVision, where they kept being like, Agatha's working for Mephisto.
Yeah.
You know, it just can't be her doing it herself.
Yeah. Well, we got to let that simmer and move on.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Karli Morgenthau again. We find out a little bit more of her backstory, besides the fact that she just randomly blows up this depot because people don't understand anything but violence. They talk about, like, you see the heartfelt moment where she is on next to the deathbed of a person named Mama Donya. And that is an important, or her full name is Donya Madani. Mm-hmm. And she could have been the mother or the originator of the Flag Smashers group. And I did notice that when Karli was essentially mourning and getting ready for her death, she's holding on to Donya's hand, and in both of their hands at this point is a pendant that looks similar, or is a Hamza. Mm-hmm. And the Hamza it's like a palm-shaped amulet, like for those who are watching, as you should be watching on twitch.tv/4allnerds, it kind of looks like this most of the time, like two hands overlaid on top of each other, and then it has an eye in the center. In the show, it's like kind of this one hand, and on the palm is the picture of the globe with Africa, really like the Africa-Europe kind of part of the globe showing. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be an amulet of protection and things like that. And also, when you look at in the show, anyway, you look at the show, that the symbol of the Flag Smasher is the five, the outstretched fingers with the globe in the center. Mm-hmm.
So it's like the prayer version of the symbol, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And
they got one for all occasions.
Right. We find out through Wilfred Nagel, who's the doctor who was recreating the serum, that he created 20 of these vials, and that Karli stole all of them. And based on what Bucky says there's 8 super soldiers on the loose, which we presume that means there's 12 more vials available. Mm. And the power broker wants this shit back.
And your man John Walker want a taste of that, boy, if he has not already had a taste.
Especially because him and his homeboy Lamar are now coloring outside the lines. Mm-hmm. Because you see John talk about how he's like, first of all, he immediately is like, yo, Sam and Bucky, they did that shit. They broke out. They broke Zemo out. He immediately, he said they did that shit.
You might guilty as fuck. You might hate on John, but he gets the job done. And I love that scene too, because that was like the 80s action movie buddy cop once again. Oh, we going outside the lines on this one? That's Bad Boys. Y'all know Bad Boys. Like, once again, oh, we gonna do it like this again. Yeah, we gonna do it like this again, Martin. It's like that every time. Like, that's why they call themselves Bad Boys. And so I love that scene for them. Like, they got their little, oh, we're doing outside the lines now,
Yeah. And for those who, Doctor, even though you only get to see him for a brief moment, because it is quiet for him after he does his best terrible Snyderverse version of Lex Luthor. After he does that
I was
impression,
done with Walter White.
He reminded me completely of what's his face acting like Lex Luthor in Justice League, and it was just annoying.
See, it was like a Snyderverse version.
It was annoying, but
yeah, it was like a Snyderverse version of Walter White, where it's like, get out of my lab, instead of like, get out of my lab,
So Dr. Wilfred Nagel, full name, in the comics, and his actually background in the comics and then show is well, sure, but it's essentially the same. Dr. Nagel worked under that Project Rebirth experiment, which was led by Dr. Erskine, or did I pronounce it right? Erskine. Dr. Erskine is responsible for the original Super Soldier Serum and created Captain America. So following this Erskine's death, what's his face? Nagel was tasked with recreating the Super Soldier Serum. And he is responsible for testing on Isaiah Bradley. So remember when Isaiah was talking about how Hydra and the government just kept messing with his blood and all that stuff? This man is responsible for that.
Mm-hmm. And actually, Truth, Red, White, and Black is available for free to read on the Marvel app. So check that out, y'all. We were talking about this last week. That's the book where you will see Dr. Nagel and Isaiah's origin, and you can read the whole thing for free on the Marvel app. So go check that out if you have not read it yet. And like I say, Nagel is so much worse in the book. I mean, he's annoying here, but he is an evil, horrible, scummy man in that book. So check it out. Ugh. FM.
This guy, John Walker, I
Look,
don't
hate to love him.
I don't love him, period. No, I can't stand his ass. Fuck John Walker, bro. Fuck
It's a
great
thin line.
value Captain America.
That's what people don't understand. Like, that's why he's a great character. You wouldn't, if you have all this hate, it's a thin line between love and hate. Like, there's, you hate his choices, but you love this character.
Do you know who I am? No, nigga. Don't nobody know who you are. You ugly. That's what you is. I don't like him.
He's Captain America. That's what he's saying. Like, you don't know who I am? I'm Captain America.
He's Captain Confederate.
Wow. Disrespect.
Real respect. That's what that is. It's the realness, okay?
Okay. Anything else you want to say about John Walker for this episode?
Because I'm mad now. I'm mad at him. I don't want to talk about him no more.
Yeah, I mean, I like the, like I said, we already mentioned them going off the handle for their 80s action movie moment. That was great. Yeah. You mentioned that Lamar's costume has his last name on it.
Well, now, okay. Now, this could be, yes, I will admit this is me hating. But also, the reason why I like soldiers, when they have their outfit on, they usually have their last name on it. You see Lamar has Hoskins on him. That's just how it goes, right? Why Lamar, the only one with his name on the costume, right? Is it because he's the black man? We got to do it like Benhameen does. Is he the black man? You got to identify the black man. Like if he is holding a basketball, you don't know who he is.
I figured it was like a basketball jersey. You put his name on the back,
He the only one wearing it though.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a black one. So he wears a basketball
jersey. The black
jersey.
one.
What you think this is?
The black man.
Black. I also got to shout out Hoskins' Battlestar because he has a star on his chest. The costume design actually has the Battlestar on the chest. So that was really dope.
Yes. A
little bit. But he still has not got a lineup.
Yeah.
But like I say, maybe that's just that, protective naps right there.
No, stop. Moving on.
Fam, my man has not put a comb through that. You think a bullet is going through that joint? Like, no. I mean, I got dreads. And
y'all call me the hater. So,
it's more pliable than my man's lineup.
I wasn't saying all that.
My man's lineup is ass, dog. There is no excuse for that. Like, someone pointed out to me, I didn't notice it, and now I cannot look away. Every time he's on screen, I'm hoping he got a fade.
No.
No.
The only thing I have to say about Sam Wilson, the Falcon, is again he was complaining quite a lot this episode about different things, and I feel like he's once again like what he was doing with his sister Sarah. He's writing checks he can't cash. Like he was talking all big, he was talking all that cash shit. Like, oh, I could clear your name when he was talking to Sharon. He was like, yo, help us. I could probably clear your name. Negro, you can't even get a loan from the family bank. So what makes you think you could do all this?
Wow.
I just felt he was being, again, it was just talking lots of cash shit. Bucky, that's my man's. Bucky's about that action. I told y'all already. Yes, morality, da-da-da-da. I fucks with Bucky, okay? Now, whether it was a wise decision for him to spring Zemo out of jail, we gonna see that later. Probably not. But it also shows that Bucky, that he plans ahead of time and that he's more than just a brute, okay? Because he's telling, and he does the same thing to, if you look, he does the same thing to his therapist. He tells the story like it's a hypothetical, but he did it already. Like when he tells the story, when he talks to the therapist and she's like, you didn't hurt nobody. He goes, well, what if I did this and that and that? And he did it already when he got that other Hydra woman out the paint. He does it again when he tells the story about potentially springing Zemo out of jail to Sam. He goes, well, what if two prisoners start fighting? And what if someone pulls a fire alarm and someone slips away? He says all this. He already did it. He already slipped the key into the book that Zemo takes and he puts the whole thing into motion. And he's thinking he's on his Machiavelli shit, right? He plans ahead of time. He's using his own experiences, and he says this cold line. He goes, "The weakest point in any system is the human element." Like, come on, Bucky's that nigga. I love Bucky.
I wouldn't say Machiavelli. I would say Joker in the Dark Knight.
All right, Jesus, you are so disrespectful, bro. Like,
pure chaos and a plan that makes
Joker.
A plan that makes absolutely no sense when you step back and look at it. But because we needed the show to progress, the plan worked. Because
the plan, the only thing about the plan wasn't the consequences of the plan. And that's the thing. Bucky doesn't seem to be thinking about the consequences thereof. Point A to point B. And point A to point B, it worked.
Beyond the consequences, the plan would have never worked in any... It's just one of those things where it's like, this has to happen. These it has to happen
perfectly.
So the show can go on. Yeah, because this... Yeah, no. No, how did you get the key card of the book? How did you slip the note to the guy? Get the fuck out of here. But, all right.
Listen, 80s, 90s action movie, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's all it was. So
it has to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
Bucky also...
Just foolish.
I even though I loved it, I also recognize I think he played his role a little bit too well in the bar in Madripoor. When he was acting like he was a Winter Soldier and Zemo gave him the command to start fucking shit up, he seemed to be enjoying it a little bit. Mm-hmm. I felt like he was enjoying it a little bit. Now he could have just been letting off some steam or whatever. But even Sam was looking at him like, "Yo, you good, bro? Like, you sure there's still not a little bit of Winter Soldier program is stuck in there? You okay?" And I got it because Bucky ain't had to do all that. Did I enjoy it? Yes, but he ain't had to do all that. And also, I just want to make the point that as he was doing all that, people were recording them on their phones.
Were they?
So is that going to get out? And how is that going to look to other people?
This terrorist evading another country, not very good. Also, like we said before, Bucky hit the woman bounty hunter with the pole, hit her with the pipe, but instead of giving her... I mean, look, he did hit her with a pipe. He said trying to get that pipe. And shout out, that's J.R. Smith who said that, trying to get the pipe. But instead of snapping off a witty line like that, like I say, he's enjoying it earlier. But now he's like, oh, I went too far with that one. He sits there and you see this moment of regret. Like he is looking at that like, ooh, like I just pinned her to the wall. Like, I mean, you got to appreciate the art in that book. Instead of being disgusted, you be like, ooh, look
You're
what
skillful.
I did. Yeah, like 2 points. Keep it moving. But no, he didn't. He was definitely regretting it at that point, Yeah. He should have, trying to get the pipe would have been so perfect right there. Like,
stop it.
You just missed it, Buck. Like, you missed it, dog. Man.
All right. This takes us down to the final section, our Easter eggs, inspiration, and music. As I mentioned before, lots of music this episode. We have a few that we just listened to and realized what it was, or stuff that was actually just said by the characters. Specifically, the first one, "Trouble Man" by Marvin Gaye. And is that the name of not just a song, but a whole album as well?
A whole album and soundtrack to a film, actually, about a black Robin Hood type character in the hood.
Oh, okay. So Sam, when they're on Zemo's PJ, Sam. Well, first of all, Zemo. I don't know how he even got it. Zemo somehow gets Bucky's book that Bucky has been writing that list of names in.
It's showing like with the book with the Machiavelli, but like people have suggested that he was already planning the escape, and it's just showing once again that his sleight of hand, he's quick, he got them hands, so he just, whipped it off of Bucky at some point.
Right. Well, it's revealed that book that Bucky's writing all his names in is also the same book that Steve used when he was just, out and about and stuff. So I, that's a keepsake of Steve's that Bucky rides around with.
And it's also
and it means a lot.
Yeah, it's like that Steve probably gave it to him. Like, look, these are all the things I caught up on. This will help you get used to this century.
Right,
Catch up.
Right. Sam's, yeah.
Yeah, but Bucky still got to live with what he's done. And so he's still got to go back and fix what he's done before he can even catch up with the new century.
So in a way, you have Steve using that book to move forward into the future, and then you have Bucky using it. He kind of stuck in the past a little bit.
He's still stuck in the past, yeah. He's still thinking he can fix shit that he's done, and that's really not the case.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then also that album is written in that book, as you mentioned. Sam told him about that too.
And I love when
it's some cool stuff actually that Steve was told to write to check out when he was learning about the new century. Like they put in like I Love Lucy, and like a whole bunch of like different cultural shit for him to like catch up to they put disco, like a whole bunch of stuff in there.
And if you depend on what country you're in, that list changes for each country you're in.
Oh.
Because it reflects the specific history or pop cultural history of that country. Like the Beatles are definitely in the London one and things of that nature.
And the British English one, okay.
Yeah,
UK English one, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There is the song Amats by Shanty Dope. Actually, that's a Filipino artist. It plays when they're entering Low Town in Madripoor. And you said the song is about position and power.
Yep, like the power broker. The song is about, the lyrics are referring to the fact that the person is, assuming position, like my position is greater, giving me power.
Okay. There's a song Le Petit Homme by Edith Piaf.
Yep.
I'm doing my best on the pronunciations. That song plays when Zemo, Sam, and Bucky go to meet Selby. That's when that slow motion scene where it's all cool and shit. The song,
that's a Matrix.
Very Matrix. The record rather came for the low by Zoo and Party with Ray. During Sharon's stolen art party, that song comes on, and the song is good. Like all this music choice is exceptional.
Zoo is, I don't know if you know the song Faded. I'm faded.
No.
All I wanna do is come home with you.
Okay.
It's dope. It's a banger.
Right.
It's like a house banger. Like Zoo got bangers.
Well, Zemo was definitely banging with it because he was doing that.
The straight face while he was doing it though.
Did he not remind you of like in Spider-Man 3 when what's his face was dancing when Peter Parker was just doing his thing in the club?
Don't disrespect Zemo like that. Don't disrespect Zemo like that. No, because Zemo was feeling the vibe. You know, yeah. Toby was just whatever.
Wow.
Zemo was in there like.
Finally in songs, music.
That was that serious face. I thought Dr. Dre just in it like, oh.
In music, we have Coming Home Baby by Mel Torme. That was
Mel Torme.
Sorry, Torme. That Dr. Nagel was playing in his lab on the record player.
The legend, Mel Torme. Big up the legend. Rest in peace.
Easter egg at the very beginning when Zemo says longing, rusted 17. Those are just some of the trigger words to activate Bucky's Winter Soldier programming. As we remember back in that Winter Soldier intro, that's how Zemo basically that's how Zemo got control of the Winter Soldiers. He learned that from that book that I don't remember the name of the book, but the book had all the information about how to control the Winter Soldiers and how to deal with them. He learned this phraseology. It's longing, rusted 17, daybreak, furnace 9, benign, homecoming 1, and free car.
And once again, in different languages, those words are completely different. That was just the English words, but for different films in different regions, he says a completely different list of words.
Right. Benhameen, many episodes ago, called the introduction of Madripoor into this series. Because he also saw the hint in the credits. Madripoor, as we know in this episode, is featured prominently. And we also get to see some cool places that are actually existing in the comic book universe in Madripoor. We have the Princess Bar, which in the comics is a bar in the low town of Madripoor, which was frequented by an interesting hairy character that at that time, in that particular story in the comics, he goes by the name of Patch. Who is Patch actually, Benhameen?
Wolverine, baby, Mr. Logan himself.
Yeah.
In his first solo series in the 90s, left the X-Men or would spend time in Madripoor wearing a patch over his eye, and somehow
so
the citizens of Madripoor did not realize that this 5'4" mutant hairy little bastard who nobody could seem to kill.
It's the Clark Kent syndrome. It's like, oh, he wearing glasses. I don't see him.
Yeah, he got that patch on his eye. Ain't no way that's Wolverine. I don't think he popped his claws much, at least while he was patched.
But his hair.
But you got to remember, Wolverine, for the most part, when he was out and about, would be wearing a mask. So people would not know this wild-ass hair is identifiable. So
True.
It kind of works, when you really think about it. It was not as bad as Clark Kent. Like, Clark Kent is just ridiculous.
But the whole point of the introduction of the Prince Bar and why we mention Wolverine is, again, this is more into the integration of the X-Men world and characters and stuff into the MCU.
Yes. And also Madripoor is where, like I talked about this issue, the Brass Monkey Saloon that we see appears in Captain America Volume 1, 363. But there's another issue before that. I want to say 324. I don't know the issue offhand, but we mentioned it a couple weeks back where Steve Rogers, Wolverine, and Black Widow all fight Nazis and ninjas in World War II in Madripoor. It's one of the illest issues of all time. Look it up. Jim Lee art. Just, oh my God.
And that Brass Monkey Saloon is where our characters in this show went to when they went to meet up with Selby.
Yep.
And then finally in Easter eggs, Sam asks Bucky when they're leaving the shipping container scene. Sam asks Bucky if he's going to move his seat up, which is actually the reverse of the similar humorous scene between the both of them in Captain America Civil War, where they have Bucky in the backseat. He asks Sam if he's going to move his seat up, and Sam's like, no.
No.
Yeah, not at all.
Bucky in the backseat.
Yeah. that being said, just the final thing, anything new in the credits that you wanted to point out?
Oh, yes. One little bit that, once again, I saw this on a YouTube video because I did not notice this myself. This is, I mean, basically because I don't speak the language. I want to say it's in Korean. There is a, I think it's for Korean, but basically in another language other than English, there's a symbol for the word gold. And there's also some other symbols that when translate, say gold corrupts the accomplice. And they're on the Madripoor page, right? When it quickly shows some stuff about Madripoor. So that's what people are taking that hint, like gold corrupts an accomplice. Sharon was an accomplice to these other characters. Has the gold, has the money corrupted her? I don't know. I think I just would like her to. No, I would like her to be the power broker more than I would like her to be working for the power broker. I've seen some other things where people are saying that she might be working for Fury undercover because she was before. She was before, and she pulls out the same type of flip phone that Fury is using recently. The older, like not a, modern version. That Nokia, like the 2013 joint.
Yeah. So
it's like that's the same thing he was using recently. So there's that. And that I could see as well, that she's still working undercover and, all this, which I would like. I'd like that as well. But I would also, if not, I would like her to be the power broker. But I also don't want her to come in like, I was the power broker, like.
It was me all along.
Yeah, it was me all along, Austin. It was me all along.
Right. And that is everything in our recap review of episode 3 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We made it under 2 hours this time. Clap for us. That being said, thank you to everyone who has joined us on the YouTubes and on the Twitch, twitch.tv/4allnerds. We see you in the chat. We are chatting with you right now. Thank you so much for coming through every single week. As I keep telling y'all, if y'all come through consistently, it gets popping in the chat. We give away free subs. So make sure you're in there. You got to be in it to win it. Also, make sure
Let them know the time. Let them know the time.
Make sure you are with us every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's New York time. Make sure you are with us, rocking with us. Make sure you are subscribed to us on the podcast. If you have to listen to the audio too, that's good. That's why we do the audio. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Play Music. Everything, I said Apple Play Music. Lord Jesus, I'm tired. Everything you could think of, we are on there. It's an amalgamation of all of the musics, okay?
Okay.
So make sure you are subscribed to us everywhere. Make sure you're following us on the socials at For All Nerds. You can also follow us. I'm at Tatiana King. This is at DJ Benhameen. And as we said, at For All Nerds across the universe, across the multiverse. Make sure you hit us up if you want to support us even more. If you love what you're hearing, you love our incredible team that makes us sound good and look good. Thank you to them. We would really, really appreciate them and really appreciate everyone who's been helping out on that end. Hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/forallnerds. People on our Patreon gets lots of goodies and they get lots of what's the word I'm looking for? Lots of things that other people can't do. Privileges. That's the word. Privileges.
Yes.
Gifts. Donations and gifts. Also, you can hit up our TeePublic page. Benhameen is wearing the beautiful LaWanda and Little Vizzy Vert shirt. That is from our WandaVision review show. You can hit us up, tpublic.com/stores/forallnerds for those incredible designs. Thank you to all the designers who have helped us out over the years. What am I missing? Anything else, Benhameen?
No, but make sure you head, like you said, to tpublic.com/stores/forallnerds and pick up the new Views from the 616 logo designed by Dr. Infinite Mind Warp. And I mean, just thank you, dog. Thank you, Theotis, as I know you for years. Thank you so much. You just rocked that joint. It's so ill. I can't wait to get my own shirt. I don't know if I'm going to have it in time for next episode, but before the season's out, for Winter Soldier's out, you will see it on my chest. Fire Fuego is coming soon. It is now available in all the stores because I'm going to do the work and put it up right now after we finish recording. That's how much we love y'all.
Yep.